Welcome to this week's Brittany's Bites, where we are making one of my favorite weeknight meals. But okay, you can make it on a weekend as well. We call them Mediterranean bowls, but I think there are a little bit of Middle Eastern flavors involved as well. It's just sort of a mishmash of quinoa, chicken, veggies, cheese, and a little bit of sauces, and it all comes together and tastes great. And depending upon what you add into it, it can be fairly healthy as well. So we're gonna get things started with making up our quinoa, and we really wanna give it some flavor. So I have some olive oil here in my pan warming up, and I think it's pretty heated right now. And I've chopped up half a white onion. It was a pretty large onion. If you can see this one right here, it was just like that. I'm only gonna use half in this pot right now because I'm gonna save the other half for the next thing I do. So I'm gonna sprinkle some in. You can hear the sizzle, ready to go. I think that's good. So I'm just going to basically cook these down a little bit, get some flavor coming out of them, and then I'm gonna put in this quinoa, which I have rinsed and drained, and it's sitting here. You definitely wanna do that with quinoa, lentils, any sort of grains like that. You could also use rice in this dish if you happen to not like quinoa, but I use quinoa in almost everything. So once that cooks down a little bit, we're gonna add in this quinoa, and it's 1 cup of quinoa to 2 cups of broth or water or other liquid. It's a 1 to 2 parts. So you could back it down to a half a cup of quinoa and do 1 cup water or broth. You get the idea. But I've got 2 cups of broth here, veggie broth in this case. You can also use chicken broth, beef broth if you like. And again, just the 1 cup of rinsed and drained quinoa. So I'm gonna keep that cooking here and then add it in along with some spices in just a minute. The onions are cooking down almost to where I want them to be, so I'm gonna go ahead and add in some spices and the quinoa to almost toast it up a little bit before I add in the broth. So first of all, I'm going to add in turmeric. And this, I hear, is a good anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and it's usually in the rice. When you see yellow rice, that's what it is. And it's got a very strong color and a pretty great flavor as well. So I'm just eyeballing it here. I've also heard that in order to sort of activate it, you should use black pepper. So I'm gonna put in some black pepper and then also some salt, of course. I'm gonna stir that around for just a few seconds and then add in the quinoa and toast that up just a little bit. But we wanna be careful because we don't wanna burn it too much. We've got just a little bit of that olive oil still in here that will allow it to cook up and toast up just a little bit. But look at the nice color that these onions are already getting because of that turmeric, and the flavor is gonna be fantastic. All right, I'm gonna add in this quinoa. Again, this is that 1 cup of rinsed and drained quinoa. And I'm gonna stir it up. And I'm just gonna cook this for just a minute or 2 and then add in the broth. And once I add in the broth, again, that's 2 cups, I'm going to bring this to a boil, and then you just reduce it and simmer it for about 15 minutes and fluff it up with a fork. Sometimes I let it go a little bit longer, but when it gets nice and fluffy, you're ready to go. And that becomes the base of our Mediterranean bowl. So I'm gonna get this going and in fact move this to the stove behind me so we can get started on our very next step, which is the chickpeas. You may be able to notice that the pot is cooking behind me now, and I think I forgot to mention that you put a lid on while it's simmering. So it's gonna go for about 15 minutes or so. In the meantime, we're gonna start everything else. Now back to those chickpeas I was mentioning. So I've got some olive oil on this pan right here, this saute pan, and I'm gonna put in the other half of that onion we were talking about. And you don't have to use that much onion if you don't want to, but I love onion, and I'm gonna put some raw red onion on top at the end. So this is not maybe a recipe for you if you don't like onion, but also you can just leave it out. There are plenty of other ingredients you can put in there. So I'm just gonna get those onions cooking down just a little bit. I'm gonna add in the chickpeas after that and the same spices that I added into the quinoa as well. So we'll get those cooking and come back and add the rest. The onions have cooked down a little bit, so now I'm going to add the chickpeas. Again, this is just 1 can of rinsed and drained chickpeas, garbanzo beans, whatever you want to call them. Gonna get those in there and then add, again, the similar spices that I added before. Of course, salt and pepper, whoops. So I'm gonna get those in there. And you can add whatever seasoning you like to this. A little pepper. Then once again, the turmeric. Like a lot of that. Sometimes I'll add chili powder as well if I want a little spice and a kick. In this case, I have some garlic powder over here, so I'm gonna do a little bit of that. Great. Now I'm gonna mix it up, and you can cook these down as much as you want. I actually like to get them a little crispy. So I'm gonna cook these down for quite a while, and that quinoa is still going behind me. And in the meantime, while this is cooking, this is when kind of the real work comes in. You're gonna dice up all of the veggies that you're gonna put in the bowl. So I will be taking time to do that, and then I'll come back and put it all together at the end. Now it is time to finish up this Mediterranean bowl, and this one's going to be a chicken Mediterranean bowl. So this has just been some chicken that has been marinated and then grilled outside, sliced up now, all good to go. So we'll go ahead and start with that. And I want to kind of arrange it a little bit pretty, so I'm going to put everything around the edges so you can sort of definitely see all of the different ingredients that we're going to put in here. So that looks good for the chicken. Next, I have those chickpeas that we cooked up. I got a little char on them as well, so they're gonna be a little bit crunchy. Love that. So I'm gonna put those on this side. And then I have chopped up into pretty small pieces an English or Persian cucumber. I think these are actually Persian cucumbers, and they're seedless, which I love, and I've diced them up into little pieces. I'll just put those over here. And then we start getting some of those beautiful colors that we're adding in. The other ingredient I want to add, those little mini sweet peppers. So I've got some red ones and some yellow ones. These are, I think, probably my favorite part of the Mediterranean bowls that we make. I'm gonna get a lot in there. And then not everyone loves these, but I love pepperoncini. So I'm just gonna add in a couple of them because I like the little tang that it gives. So I'm gonna put them right there. Get rid of that. I'll add those in. And then some red onions. I mentioned that I love onions, so I'm putting some red onions right here. All right, we've got the outside. Now we're gonna go for the sauces. So in the middle, I can never say this right, tzatziki? Yeah, we're gonna put the tzatziki sauce right in the middle. And I know that the person who's gonna eat this likes a lot of tzatziki, so I'm gonna put a lot in there. And then also I usually add hummus. Now you can just do sort of a glop of hummus, that's totally fine, but I like to actually thin it out with water and you just mix it up, so then you can sort of pour it over like a sauce. And I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. Go like that. And then the very last thing I'm gonna add, just a little bit of crumbles of feta cheese. Not everyone loves feta. Put that on top. And just kidding, there is one last ingredient. Yeah, I told you there are a lot of ingredients involved. You don't have to use all of these. The pistachios, because you gotta have a little crunch, I think. So just a few little pistachios right on top. And there we have our finished Mediterranean bowls. You can keep it nice and pretty, or you can mix it all up and eat it all together. But if you'd like the recipe, you can find it right now on WBIR.com. Hope you enjoy it.